Hey, everybody. Thanks for waiting. Sorry, we had to change the time a little bit, but we just got a couple of motions which people have been talking about, but they weren't publicly available until later today.
Which
So,
people have been talking about, but they weren't publicly available until later today. Which
okay.
people have
Do you
been
hear
talking about.
reverberation? Yeah. Okay. Thanks for muting yourself. Okay. Well, welcome, Bluebell. Thank you so much for coming back again. It's great to see you. How are you today?
Sorry about that. I didn't realize I had something else on my screen. Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks. It's been a busy week, but I'm happy to be back. Thanks for having me.
Sure. And do you want to give a quick intro to people?
Sure. My nickname is Bluebell. So this is my second time on YouTube with thanks to Judy. She was kind enough to invite me. I've been a long follower of the Dan Markel, trial and murder, saga, if you want to call it. So just a supporter of him and his family, and like maybe some people in the chat initially. And I just have to preface, when I saw Wendy's first interview in 2016 in In-Laws and Outlaws, they only showed a snippet, and it just seemed what they showed was a little convincing. So I guess context is everything. So initially I was like, wow, how can an innocent person start pointing the finger at her family? Lo and behold, it was her plan all along. So yes, I am just like many people in the chat, just a Judy follower on the many different channels, but just happy to be here. So thanks for having me.
Yeah. And it was great to run into you at Whole Foods. So that was so random.
Yeah. I was in the bakery section and I looked up and I was like, oh my gosh, is that Judy? I actually called you AA Legal Focus. Like, at the moment I was so starstruck. I'm like, is that you? And you're like, it is. And then we chatted. So
yeah, it's great to meet you. So, well, let's go to the new news first. So once again, I haven't even read these things, but I did hear about that Wendy Adelson motion to quash her subpoena from Donna's attorneys. You guys have probably heard from SDS as well as Deep Dive True Crime, who did some short videos about it. So this one, well, this is the first one that showed up, which is Donna's motion to suppress statements that she made to Drina Bernhardt, who is the jailhouse snitch with a ton of criminal charges and convictions in her past. She's like a career criminal.
Okay.
Did you hear about this? I didn't even know about this one.
I actually did hear about this one. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, let's look through it real quickly. So she wants to, what? Okay, see, once again, they're always doing these like typos and misspellings and stuff in their filings. So even Joe Patuto noted that she was not impressed with the quality of work by these attorneys. It says moves this court to statements. I think that means to suppress statements she allegedly made to Drina Bernhardt. So, okay, so there are 2 jailhouse informants, according to the state. They couldn't depose Bernhardt till August 11th because Bernhardt had violated her probation and pretrial release conditions and could not be located. Well, she seems to be back in the jail a lot. Okay, so then she got arrested on August 5th. So they deposed her. They also deposed another witness, Mickey Easterwood, aka Mickey Lang. I guess it's a woman who was also incarcerated with them, and provided a recorded interview. Okay, so never heard of this person. So Easterwood disclosed that rather than Bernhardt merely listening to Donna make statements, Bernhardt also asked Donna questions. Oh, come on. So she wants to suppress any statements she made to Drina after December 20th. Well, what could that be about? Okay, so she met Donna in the annex. Bernhardt was interviewed December 5th by a detective. Bernhardt wrote a letter to the detective. Exhibit A. Turner interviewed her. Then she told him about a human trafficking case and Donna's case. Then they had this December 20th interview. Her plea offer was 5 to 6 years. She conceded she's a violent felony offender of special concern, and qualified for sentencing as a prison releasee reoffender. Okay. So have you actually seen this already, Blue Pelt?
No, I generally don't read motions.
Okay.
I'll usually get like the Cliff Notes version from somewhere. Maybe I'll read like a page or two, but
Okay, sure. Well, since you have a better speaking voice and I still have a cold, do you mind just kind of reading through some of this?
You want me to start with 12?
Sure. Can you see it?
I can see it, yes, thanks.
Okay.
So the statements Bernard made are addressed in the previously filed July 29 motion in limine, and transcripts of those interviews have previously been provided to the court. Bernhardt told the state on December 20th that Adelson called Bernhardt her jail daughter. Okay, remind me, how old was Bernhardt? Did it say her age?
I think she's about 42, early 40s.
So Adelson addressed Bernhardt as her daughter. Okay, so that's already some sort of manipulation right there.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So during the recorded interviews, law enforcement told Bernhardt not to ask Adelson questions and to just listen to whatever Adelson said about the case. Specifically, Newland stated, so you cannot be an agent for us. I can't send you in there to ask her any questions. Okay, is that like considered like entrapment or something? Is that why? Or
well, I mean, I don't think it's really entrapment by the legal definition if they're not making her commit a crime. I don't know. I mean, I guess they don't want it to seem too shady and too purposeful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So listen, if she has a casual conversation with you, there's nothing stopping you from having a conversation with her. Don't make things weird. Okay. Don't initiate any of these conversations. Newland continued stating, that is one of the biggest things that is to come out of this meeting with us is don't make it awkward, but definitely do not go back there on our behalf thinking you will need to get us more information. Bernhardt testified that she provided written documents to Turner of what Adelson asked instructed Bernhardt to say when testifying on 10 different occasions. She later testified this happened more than 10 times. During her August 11, 2025 deposition, Bernhardt initially claimed she did not ask Adelson any questions, but later said that she did ask Adelson questions. The fact that Bernhardt engaged in conversations rather than just calling it a listening post or just acting as a listening post with Adelson is corroborated by subsequently identified witness. Okay, so they can't even name that witness. All right. So on August 11th, Mickey Easterwood informed law enforcement Bernhardt questioned and manipulated Adelson. During the same interview, Eastwood said that it was very obvious that she was trying to get information out of Donna. Instead of acting as a listening post, Bernhardt was not merely a passive listener. Rather, she continued to engage in conversations with Adelson. Statements purportedly made by Adelson after December 20th, I think she meant to say 24, were a product of these conversations. The state's desire to elicit additional statements from Adelson resulted in 3 additional recorded interviews with Bernhardt, January 13th, 29th, and then February 11th. Disclosure of law. In United States versus Henry, the Supreme Court held that law enforcement cannot deliberately elicit conversation with a defendant in order to elicit incriminating information. The Sixth Amendment prohibits law enforcement officers from deliberately eliciting statements from a defendant after the right of counsel has attached. Messiah versus United States, the deliberately elicited standard is clearly satisfied when the police directly interrogate or question a defendant, but it may also be satisfied by less direct types of questionings. And then it cites a few other.
Yeah, you don't have to read it all verbatim. Thank you so much. I don't mean to exhaust your voice
Don't worry
having to
about it.
read this.
Thankfully today I was not on too many conference calls. I was more like so I didn't talk too much today, so I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Passivity. I can't say it.
Passivity.
Passivity on the part of law enforcement is the critical factor in the analysis. A knowing exploitation by the state of an opportunity to confront the accused without counsel being present is as much a breach of state's obligation not to circumvent the right to the assistance of counsel as it is intentional creation of such an opportunity. I mean, honestly, like if I just can pause here, they kind of have a point, right?
Yeah, so far it sounds like a good argument. This is interesting because I've never delved into this aspect of the law before, you know, how informants can and cannot be used. But I do wonder, what exactly did this Miss Mickey Easterly say, and what concrete proof do they have of Drina proactively trying to, you know, get at Donna?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what kind of proof they have for how this could go, because once again, this is Donna's attorney's very biased view of the situation. Okay. Do you feel like reading?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you so much.
So in Saunders versus State, the court held that applying the framework set forth in Rowling and Brown, the first district's decision in Zakeen establishes that the proper inquiry in determining whether a defendant's statement to a jail informant violates a defendant's Sixth Amendment's rights in the degree of law enforcement involvement at the time the statement was made. In Zakeen, the defendant made incriminating statements to his cellmate, who then reported the statements to law enforcement and worked with law enforcement to obtain more information. The court informed that any statements made by the defendant to his cellmate after the date the cellmate began working with law enforcement were obtained in violation of his Sixth Amendment rights and were not admissible, but that any statements made before the state were admissible. And then it cites another thing.
Yeah, you can skip forward if you feel like it, because this whole thing is like 10 pages or so I don't want to wear you out.
No problem. So it says, where law enforcement intentionally creates a situation likely to induce a defendant to make incriminating statements without assistance of counsel, statements made by the defendant should be suppressed. Johnson versus State. This is especially so when the informant is not merely a passive listener, but rather is actively engaging the defendant in conversation, questioning the defendant, and then reporting back to law enforcement. Stated differently, a Sixth Amendment violation is only shown where the defendant establishes that the informant and the authorities had a pre-existing plan to obtain a confession. And so now it says law enforcement violated Mrs. Adelson's Sixth Amendment rights. So far I'm in favor of their argument, I guess.
Yeah, it actually sounds pretty good, but, you know, once again, let's keep in mind, we don't know the full story and how the state is going to respond.
Sure.
So, okay, keep
Did they
going.
have a hearing about this at all, or is the state going to respond in like a response?
Yeah,
to the
I'm sure the state is going to file a response, but this just got filed. So, I mean, talk about all these last minute things. The trial is supposed to start in a week and a half.
Yeah.
And they just throw this in. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a lot.
Yeah.
All right. So we're
28?
28, yep. Any statements with which the state can establish to have been made prior to December 20th, 2024 may be admissible. However, the state sent Bernhardt back into the Lee County Detention Center with a specific intent to elicit information from Adelson. Although the state may have told Bernhardt to just listen, they also said to not make it awkward and what Bernhard could continue to engage in conversations with Adelson. The plan was for Bernhard to continue to engage in conversations with Adelson in the hope she made more statements. Bernhard did what she believed she had to do so it would not be awkward. By sending Bernhard back into the jail with the stated purpose of obtaining additional information from Adelson, the state authorized Bernhard's actions. By further allowing Bernhard to benefit from her continued conversations with Adelson, her probation was reinstated instead of a 15-year prison release reoffender sentence or the purported 5 to 6 year offer. The state incentivized Bernhard continued actions on the behalf of the state. As a Sixth Amendment violation is shown where a defendant establishes the informant and authorized had a pre-existing plan for the
That's another typo there. That's why it doesn't sound right.
Yeah,
Typo.
and on sentence and plan for the informant to obtain a confession. A Sixth Amendment violation is established in the case of any statements made by Adelson after December 20th. Conclusion. Based on the foregoing, the state violated Mrs. Adelson's Sixth Amendment rights, and this court should suppress any statement Bernhard claims Mrs. Adelson made after December 20th. Wherefore, the defendant, Donald Adelson, requests that this court grant this motion, suppress statements Adelson purportedly made after December 20th to Bernhard, and for such other and further relief as is just and proper.
Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for reading. You saved my voice, man. Nobody wants to hear me reading this, especially since I'm sick. So, yeah, this is crazy. I mean, this came out of the blue. I didn't even know there was this until right before the live stream. I was like, I'm going to check one last time to see if that Wendy motion to quash is publicly available. So, interesting.
Is the Wendy motion available yet or no?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I need to bring it up on the screen, though. Yeah, so it does sound pretty persuasive, right? Because it is true.
Yes.
I guess that's pretty sneaky to give this person such a great deal and, send them back into the jail to try to get some info out of her. But who knows what Trina would say? I don't know what she would say about the circumstances under which she spoke with Donna. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be pretty juicy if Donna's attorneys are fighting at the last minute to try to suppress it.
Yeah, I think they have a valid argument here. And, or are you talking about the Wendy stuff? Sorry.
Oh, I'm talking about this one.
Yeah,
this
this one.
Donna motion.
Yeah, I'm wondering. So, like, none of that is available yet, right? That's what they're contending right now with this motion, right? So the state wants this in evidence and for her to testify, right, during trial.
Yeah, the state wants Trina to be able to fully testify about all her conversations with Donna.
How did they, I guess, did she approach them, I guess, to say like this cellmate is talking, or how did that even come about?
That's what I'm not sure, and I can't scroll back because it already switched over to the Wendy motion here, so I'm afraid to lose it if the computer slows down. Yeah, but it sounds like, I'm just guessing, it sounds like Trina approached them.
I would suspect, I mean, she had, she was incentivized as this, I mean, the defense motion, there is incentive for snitches in jail, I think, as there should be, right? Because they don't really have a lot going on for themselves, so.
Yeah, they're thinking, how do I get out of this mess? And they're there with a bunch of pretty nasty criminal elements, so what kind of loyalty do they have to each other?
Yeah, so I think one of the faults of the Adelsons, I mean, the criminal ones, not everyone except for Rob and maybe anyone else who is not in the criminal element, as Mr. Rashbaum likes to say. But they just love to talk. They tell on themselves, except for Harvey. I would say Harvey has been as quiet as a mouse. He probably is the smartest one out of all of them because he's got, Donna's the one who put things in writing. She's the ones on the recording. And I think he's just kind of almost like the puppeteer who kind of sends out people to do his bidding. I think
that sounds like Wendy to me. Yeah, the puppeteer who's in the background letting everybody get dirty and then they walk away and enjoy their lives, or at least Wendy is.
I agree. I think Wendy takes after Harvey in the fact of her manipulation and like puppeteering, but where she takes after Donna is sort of like, when I mentioned in the last video we did, or session or show, that I'm interested in personality disorders. So I think that they're kind of like cluster B. So I think Wendy takes after Donna because she's a borderline and they just have very poor impulse control. So I think Harvey might have more impulse control. He's more of a covert narcissist. And I think Wendy is just like him in her scheming, but she just doesn't, she drove by the freaking crime scene. So she just like couldn't wait. And she is I think she tells on herself a lot. Like if she didn't tell a lot of the things that she told to Jeff Lacasse, I think a lot of this would be plausible deniability, but like, he kept saying she kept breaking down and she kept falling apart in the months leading up to Jeff's murder. And obviously for good reason, because maybe she has a little inch of, I don't think she was feeling bad for Jeff. I think she was just scared of getting caught. So I think she was crying for herself.
Oh, yeah. She didn't care about Jeff. The way she treated him is just so abominable. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Well, I also think that Harvey sort of looks innocent because he was too busy working. So he's too busy working. So Donna's doing a lot of the dirty work and sending all the emails, even though it's from their joint Harvey, Donna, or whatever it was, email. And then, from what I think Wendy said, like due to his, whatever you call it, the acoustic neuroma, which was not brain cancer, he got over it. He had some slight hearing loss. So that's why he's not on the phone as much because of his slight hearing problem. But on Tuesday, Patty and Vince and I are going to read one of Charlie's jail calls with Donna and Harvey. And when I was typing the transcript, I was like, oh my God, these people are so annoying because they keep talking over each other. So it's like Harvey's totally in on it. This family is so enmeshed that both he and Donna would finish each other's sentences and just be talking all over each other. And I was just like so stressed out trying to figure out who said what to type it up. So yeah. So if you guys hear that,
you're typing the transcript. You should utilize AI or something.
Well, I did sort of because I used a YouTube generated transcript, but it's terrible because there are so many words that are wrong and missing and no punctuation, no capitalization. So, it takes a long time. That's why I haven't been doing too many of these jail call reenactments, but people loved the one that Vince and I did where I was Janice and he was Charlie. I don't know if you saw that, but
I think I missed that one.
Oh, okay. Well, I hope you'll watch it because
is that recent?
Yeah, it was. I think it was about a month ago. It was early July, and as Charlie Adelson's jail call with Janice, it's like a sort of comedic reenactment, and I even splurged and bought a blonde wig for that.
I think I saw that in like the thumbnail, but or maybe I saw a snippet of it. I'm not sure.
It's okay. You're busy. You don't have to watch 100% of everything, but thank you.
I have been watching your recent videos with like Mr. Loophole and oh my gosh.
What do you think? Because half the people seem to really dislike him and half the people love him.
Well, I think he likes the reaction from the chat and he likes your reaction. So he just likes to needle and he likes to see how far he can push it. So I totally have his number. I know exactly what he's doing, but you are a much better woman than me because I would have been like, okay, I'm putting you on mute for the rest of the.
Well, he does tend to keep interjecting when I'm trying to play something or we're trying to do the reading, and he would just keep breaking character, like, hey, what about this? Or let me ask you this question,
Yeah.
like,
It's more like he's trying to do a deep dive on Judy versus yeah. And why does he keep calling Wendy by her middle name? Is he a fan of Wendy? Because I'm not.
well, I think his comedy is calling Wendy Sweet Angel. So
Okay.
I'm sure it's said in total sarcasm and jest. So, I mean, take it for what it's worth. He's not a serious channel, and he's trying to be a comedian instead of a serious lawyer on YouTube.
He doesn't bother me because I know that's like his shtick, if that makes any sense. So he doesn't bother me. I feel like it's kind of funny and like you're just trying to get him back in line. So it is kind of like a push and pull. It is kind of honestly funny for me, but I can understand why maybe some people that chat.
Yeah, some people are like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm leaving. I can't watch this guy, or why'd you bring him on and stuff. But Tuesday should be tame because he's supposed to stick to the script. So just read the friggin' script and we'll get through it without people quitting.
Is that Vincent?
Huh?
Is that Loophole's name Vincent?
Yes, his name is Vincent.
Oh my gosh, that's going to be hilarious because I think he's going to do a lot of like ad lib and probably improv. So you're here, Judy is preparing this transcript, and it just like you should just give up now because it's all going to be improv by Mr. Vincent. I imagine.
What is a big HS? I don't know what that means. High school?
High school is HS is.
Okay, please let us know. I'm sorry. Okay, well, let's move on and get into this juicy motion to quash that Wendy has filed. And Mentor Lawyer said in his video that it's really no big deal because actually it's the same thing she did before in Katie Magbanua's trial, just again restating that she doesn't want to be a witness for the defense. She's not going to answer any questions that the defense asks her that's outside of the scope of cross-examination. And to me, though, once again, this shows that Wendy is out to protect herself. She ain't going to help her mom whatsoever. She just wants to stick to her script. And whatever Georgia asks her, she does have immunity. And I think in the past trials, the defense attorneys have done a good job of narrowly tailoring cross-examination to the same topics that Georgia, the prosecution, asked her. So it's really nothing to get all, afraid about. It's just Wendy, once again, in my opinion, looking shady because she's got something to hide.
Yeah, I think she just doesn't want to expose herself any further. She's exposed herself so much that she just wants to contain it. And so I really don't understand how the defense could ask her a question that wouldn't also implicate Donna, because isn't that sort of counterproductive, right? Because they're linked.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia asks Wendy lots of things on the stand, like, did you have anything to do with Dan Markel's murder? Did you talk to your family members about Dan Markel's murder? Of course, she always just says no, because she's got that use and derivative use immunity anyway. So I don't think this really changes the way the trial is going to go, but it is sort of a slap in the face to Donna to make a pointed claim that, look, you can't call me as a witness because otherwise I'm pleading the fifth. So, but she still has to testify for the state because remember, she's always been a state witness, even though she doesn't act like it. She's pretty hostile, but she's being subpoenaed by the state. Yeah. So do you mind reading this? Do you feel okay?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. So it says, non-party Wendy Adelson's motion for permission to place a statement on the record and to quash. Is it squash or quash?
Oh, it's quash. It's always funny when people say squash, but it's quash.
I've heard it both ways, and I'm like,
no, it's quash. Yeah. Yeah, it's really funny when a lot of people say the wrong word.
For the first, to quash defense subpoena. So the defense subpoenaed her to testify as their witness, in addition to her being a state witness. Okay, got it.
Yeah, I guess so. Yes.
So non-party Wendy Adelson is the daughter of defendant Donna and is expected to be one of the first witnesses called by the state in the Donna Adelson trial. Both the state and the defendant issued trial subpoenas to Wendy Adelson. By law, the state subpoena confers immunity on Wendy Adelson, but the defendant's subpoena does not. Accordingly, Wendy Adelson specifically moves for permission to place a statement on the record.
Respectfully. Sorry.
Wait, what did I say?
You said something else.
Did I say accordingly or something?
No, instead of respectfully, you said something else. But don't worry. I'm sorry.
Oh, accordingly, Wendy Adelson respectfully moves for permission, to place, maybe I was on the wrong line, for permission to place a statement on the record regarding the state of Florida's trial subpoena and to quash the trial subpoena issued by defendant Donna Adelson. In support of this motion, Wendy Adelson states as follows. Donna Adelson is charged by indictment with first-degree murder, alleging she participated in a conspiracy to murder Dan Markel, Wendy Adelson's ex-husband, on July 18, 2014. Other alleged members of the conspiracy were charged and convicted, including Catherine McBanawa. In the McBanawa trial, both the state and the defendant subpoenaed Wendy to testify. In response, Wendy filed a motion like the instant motion to place a statement on the record and to quash the defense subpoena on May 13, 2022. Thus, the two trial subpoenas by each party in this case present the same issue the court dealt with in a previous trial. The state subpoena affords Wendy use and derivative immunity for her testimony in an instance where she could otherwise invoke her Fifth Amendment rights, while the defense subpoena provides no such protections. In the McBanawa trial, the court quashed the defense subpoena and granted Wendy Adelson's attorney an opportunity to place a statement on the record. We request the court grant the same relief in this case. And then there's some footnotes.
Okay, we can skip the footnote. Yeah. That's pretty dense. Okay, and feel free to just kind of gloss over stuff. You don't have to read it word for word because people can read it too. So thank you. I don't want to wear you out because this is like 27 pages.
Sure.
So let's see. Okay, so do you want to just kind of skim through it or what?
Sure.
Feel like?
Okay. So I what do you mean by skim? Sorry, because I'm like not the best reader.
Oh, well, maybe I'll just kind of scroll through and hit the highlights then.
Okay.
Is that okay? Yeah, because this will take forever and I don't want to, just overuse you, since you're being so nice coming on the show and stuff. So, yeah. Okay, so the memorandum of law, the court should allow Wendy Adelson to place a statement on the record regarding the state subpoena. Yeah, so this is pretty much the same thing she did back in 2019 in Katie McBanawa's trial.
Okay.
So once the state calls...
The gist of it, basically, so she just doesn't want to self-incriminate and she doesn't have protection under the defense subpoena. So, yes. I mean, I think... not to defend Wendy, but like if I was in her position, I would probably have the same motion submitted because I don't want to expose myself on the stand.
Yeah, if you know you're guilty or involved. Yeah, because I feel like
you're innocent. I feel like it says never talk to the police without an attorney. This is, I don't know.
Well, I would talk to the police if I had an attorney and had nothing to do with it. And the same thing here. It's like, why wouldn't I want to testify at my mom's murder trial or testify at a trial that involves my children's father's death, if I had nothing to do with it? So, of course, I understand she has the right to do this, but to me, it still shouts red flag, red flag. Why is she so hell-bent on not having to testify unless she gets that special immunity?
Yeah, I think
being unhelpful.
It's funny because she made a decision that changed the trajectory of her life. And like I said, criminals, they do permanent solutions for short-term problems. And yeah, it wasn't like I guess it wasn't a short-term problem, but she just made the problem so much bigger. She thought everything could be solved by getting rid of Dan and annihilating him. But what has the last roughly 10 years of her life been since the first people started getting dead? I think she lived in a honeymoon period for like the first 2 years, I think, right?
Yeah, the friends said that they seemed to have the perfect marriage. They were like singing, they couldn't keep their hands off each other. They seemed to have the perfect marriage until that Pearl Harbor departure that Wendy did in 2012. So
I think she wore a mask for many, many years. And the one thing I just want to sort of kind of mention, I think you mentioned it on your recent video. I forget who it was with.
Joe Patuto?
Yeah, it could have been a lawyer as well. When Wendy was testifying, I think you guys were talking about the court reporter, because he was asking about people in the audience or in the gallery. He was like, who's that? And so he kept interrupting, remember?
Oh, that was Loophole. Yeah, Vince.
Yeah. And then he, which is, I mean, kind of for me, I'm like, oh, that's kind of nice to know because I didn't know some of the people. But you had the conversation segued to when Wendy had to use the restroom, and apparently she had some sort of friend that was like her bulldog and protector.
Yeah, Morgan.
And I was thinking about that afterwards, and I think Wendy is really good at playing this damsel, and she is constantly pumping people with information, convincing she's like this battered victim. So I think people like Jeff even are convinced, and they feel very protective of her. So she sets up these these intimate relationships with so many people. So she's kind of like setting up like little soldiers for her. So when you see these people who kind of act out of order, out of pocket, and they're so protective of her, it's because they are convinced that she's in danger and someone will come after her because she's the one feeding them that information. And I think to your point of, oh, they had such a perfect marriage and they were dancing, because I think she just wore a mask for a very long time. It was never Wendy. She gave him the identity of herself that she like had showed them, when they were dating, but you can't put up with that for life. And that's why I think probably almost overnight he saw a different version of her, because she was just probably exhausted from wearing the mask. And that's why the discard came hard and fast. And he couldn't he tried to do counseling and save the marriage, but she was done because she was just, I think she was already probably cheating on him, and she just wanted to move back to Miami and date her Miami guys. And yeah, that's just Wendy for you. But
and he knew, he saw her for the bad person that she really was. So, he realized he had been had, but he was still trying to save the family for the kids' sake.
Yeah, it's pretty pathetic. And so it's sad. I feel very sad for him and guys like Jeff Lacasse, because they seem like stand-up guys who just wanted to settle down and find a good wife. And here, he was married to a monster that has this doe-eyed, this sort of, she's older, but she's kind of got this, she's very childish too. So I feel like she looks innocent to the unassuming eye, but then when you actually see her on the stand, you just see how cold and unfeeling and dangerous she really is. So, and I think that shift and seeing her, I remember there was a story, I saw an interview recently, the same guy that interviewed all of them after Jeff got murdered. I forget the detective's name.
What? After Dan got murdered? Isom?
Corey
Hill?
It was Isom, yeah. Thank you for reminding me. He interviewed this woman that was Jeff's colleague. She worked in a different building. And I think Wendy had submitted her and her husband's name to law enforcement as potential people they need to talk to, because she basically made false rumors that this woman and Dan were having an affair and dragging this woman through the mud, and she has to go down to the police station and be embarrassed. And
wait, which woman? You mean that Schmidt person?
I don't know. She was like
Liz?
really pretty lady. I don't think they had
Blonde.
children, like blonder.
Yeah, yeah. Did you just see that recently on Loophole Lawyer or Deep Dive True Crime?
Yeah, I've been watching more of deep dive true crime videos just because of, being connected to you and you promoting his channel. So I think I've just been kind of like, oh my God, I didn't even know that happened.
Yeah. Well, to Wendy's credit, I don't think it was because Wendy mentioned this woman. It was because that woman had done some sort of search online to look for Dan Markel's house real estate value. So she was someone who worked at the law school. So it's actually kind of a funny thing where Loophole Lawyer did a reaction and kind of edited her weird police interview where she's like laughing inappropriately and being really arrogant and full of herself. And she said that Dan was like a pompous ASS, but you know.
Loophole Lawyer edited that interview to make that person look kind of.
Well, she made herself look stupid because she was like trashing her supervisor, Miguel, saying that he had such a bad accent that she couldn't even understand him. And it was like pulling information out of him when he spoke or something. Like just her total demeanor was very bizarre in an interview. And she's so full of herself. She said she had 40 hours of a master's. I'm like, who says that? Who says that? Like, you didn't finish your master's degree program, but you got to tell the officer you had 40 hours of a master's.
So that is the same, but I don't know if maybe I just didn't listen to the entire interview, but like that is maybe her. Okay, she sounds whack, but if she did that stuff. But
yeah, it's hilarious. But so that came out on Vince's channel just about a week ago, and
I'll have to watch that.
Yeah, it's hilarious, and you do sort of feel embarrassed for her because I'm sure when she went to the police station, they called her because they were kind of suspicious, like maybe she was having an affair with Dan or she was stalking him. So why would she be looking up his home real estate value on the official whatever Register of Deeds website within a week of when he gets murdered? Because she was married and she made it clear she's married and she ain't having no kids, So it's just hilarious, especially with the AI video that Vince put together at the end.
I'll have to watch it. I appreciate the context because here I was feeling sorry for her and thinking that Wendy had drug her into it, and I was completely wrong. So I stand corrected.
Yeah, it was because the police called her in. Yeah,
so she roped herself into it because she was just being nosy and messy. Okay.
Yeah, the nosy coworker. Yeah.
Okay.
So. And she was like, I assure you, like she was saying, like she wasn't attracted to Dan at all. And he was a pompous ASS, and she didn't have anything to do with it. And she hopes that they're not going to waste.
To disparage him just to distance herself from any sort of impropriety. And okay, so don't bash the guy. He just died.
I know. It's like he just got murdered and you're like laughing and yucking it up and trying to make yourself look so big and important and hot. And it was weird. Yeah, it was hilarious, though.
I need to watch it again with a different lens, obviously.
Yeah, I'll send you the link.
Okay.
Yeah. But let's get back to this motion. See where I stopped it? I wanted to point out here, this is the same thing that she was claiming victimhood back in 2019. It's like, it should therefore be quashed to ensure the integrity of the trial process and to protect Wendy Adelson from unnecessary harassment and abuse. I'm like, what harassment and abuse? Are Donna's attorneys going to harass her and abuse her? I don't think so. I think Donna's attorneys were hoping she would say some good stuff for her mom.
Yeah, you're right. It's kind of sad in the scheme of things how, the Adelsons, even though they had horrible, I guess, reasons for doing it, they did it for Wendy and for themselves as well, because they wanted the access to the grandkids and, they hated Dan. But they did all this for Wendy, and then here she is still the only one running free. And
Harvey.
she can't even, and Harvey, yeah, and she can't even do her mom a solid and like help her out during trial for her life. But she's been trying to protect herself. I mean, she was protecting herself even before Dan got murdered. She was laying the groundwork to shift blame. So I think Donna is just, slowly realizing that her daughter probably like never loved her, that her daughter was like, everyone else was just like useful tools around Wendy just to serve her and her needs. And once you're useful, you get discarded fast.
Yeah, people said that Wendy had a gang of useful idiots like Jane McPherson with her in that police interview. Yeah. So this is what I agree. I don't think Lacasse is married with children because I spoke to someone who knew him several years ago, and she said he had a girlfriend but wasn't married, had no kids. But, something could have happened in the last couple of years, but I don't think so. But I also don't recall him having a wedding ring when he testified at Charlie's trial. Because I'm sure people would have said something about that too, right?
I mean, is he going to testify at Donald's trial?
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure he's like a pretty important witness. So here he goes again. Hopefully he's doing okay mentally.
I mean, honestly, like I know, I think Loophole he says that Wendy dated, like he was out of her, she was out of his league, but I feel like it's the flip. Like he's such a nice guy and he's a catch, and she just, I feel like she's just a very spoiled princess who's used to like men fawning over her. But I mean, what women would want a guy like him, and he was just so nice and kind to her. So, and she just kind of walked all over him. So yeah, she's just a horrible person.
Yeah, I stood up for Jeff. I think Loophole was once again trying to be funny and stuff. But, I think especially back then, Jeff looked nice. I don't think, plus women aren't as obsessed with physical looks either. I mean, he just seems like a very nice, trustworthy person.
Yeah, she just used him as a patsy, unfortunately. So,
yeah. Okay. Well, it turns out that motion was only really about 5 pages because most of it was some sort of old stuff from Katie Magpanua's trial. So, I don't want to show it all because I think YouTube doesn't like it when people show addresses and phone numbers. So it does have some addresses and phone numbers of the lawyers and stuff. But yeah. Okay. So let's see. Should we take some questions or is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Otherwise, we could, I guess one of our goals tonight was to continue reacting to Wendy's old testimony too. So that's always interesting to watch and rewatch. Yeah, I agree. Like Charlie was her special little buddy. Yeah.
They almost were, I don't know,
like Oedipal complex.
Yeah, like I think someone, I won't take credit for this, but someone said that she kind of lived vicariously through Charlie because I think Donna is wild herself. And I think she enjoyed listening to his like escapades.
Well, I don't know if he actually talked to his mom about his escapades, but she was very proud of him, probably because she thought that meant he was so popular and so handsome and everybody liked him. He's popular. Yeah.
To the layperson, if you didn't know it, like if you listen to some of their conversation, it did seem like a very loving relationship because she's kind of sweet natured towards Wendy and Charlie. So it's just, but yeah, I don't know. I could be totally.
Yeah, Jeff went to yoga. Yeah, what a great guy. See, he goes to yoga with her. And thank you, SD, for gifting the membership. Okay, so Deep Dive True Crime interview with Ryan Cox, who is a female friend of Wendy's. She's an attorney. Ryan stated Wendy reached out to her to give her Lincoln & Benz articles of clothing and even brought her soup. Wendy followed up with Ryan. Okay. Yeah, so that's interesting because, once again, to me, it shows that she was indeed packing up and cleaning up and doing stuff to get ready for her big move that week. So, okay, Jeff is intelligent, non-dramatic, kind man who dresses well.
And loyal. Yeah. Yeah.
He's a catch, way too good for Wendy. That's right. Okay, Roberta Glass said that. Really? Amy Adler got married and divorced after. Okay, well, I mean, I don't know about Amy Adler, but the Lacasse thing, I definitely talked to someone who knew him. So, but
I'm
that
always wondering
was
about what happened
years
to
ago. What?
dance. I always am thinking, not always, but sometimes I think about Amy and what happened to her. Jeff's or Dan's ex, or I guess his late. I don't know how you say it. I guess the girlfriend that he had when he passed away.
The last girlfriend he had. Yeah.
His like
Yeah.
girlfriend, widow, or whatever.
Yeah, so sad. Yeah. Okay, so is there an order? Well, we went over it in a live stream show maybe a couple of weeks ago when the witness list came out. So from what I have heard, the state just goes ahead and issues subpoenas to everybody. And then these witnesses often don't know until the last minute that they need to get on a plane ride to Tallahassee or show up because it's so unpredictable. They don't know what Donna's defense theory is going to be. So that's why it's just like tons of witnesses are waiting on pins and needles, not 100% sure when or whether they're going to really be called. Yeah. And speaking of that, I was just texting with Ryan Fitzpatrick, and he said it was okay to say that his depot this morning went okay, and it was surprisingly very short. So that's all, because I want to make sure it's okay to say that publicly. So.
And he got deposed by the defense.
Yeah, Donna's attorneys, totally last minute, but at least it was through Zoom. So he didn't have to go to a lawyer's office in Miami or wherever to answer some questions. Yeah. So the only thing she and Donna cared about was a man's success and wealth, not a knock on Lacasse. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely Lacasse did not make enough to satisfy Donna and Wendy's wishes. So I think that's another reason why she was desperate to get away from Tallahassee, because there are all these like much richer, hot single professional men that are educated down there. So.
Yeah. I think this family is constantly chase money. It's pretty sad. That's
yes. It's all about the dollars, and so that's why they also cheaped out getting these like amateur hitmen involved. Being cheap because 100,000, 130,000 was chump change to them. Yeah, they taught like giddy, gossipy teenage high school girls. Yeah, and a lot of times, doesn't Donna sound like she's like oh so sexy on the phone with Charlie? I was like, this is creepy. It's creepy.
Yeah, it's almost, she treats him almost sometimes like a son sometimes. Oh honey, oh hi. And then other times it's like she's like his girlfriend, like listening to him. I don't know, kind of, they're so enmeshed, unhealthily enmeshed. I mean, Jeff Lacasse called it out, like the fact that Wendy, as a 35-year-old woman, should be able to collect her 2 kids and drive down to South Florida by herself. But her parents made a round trip every time. That's 16-hour round trip.
Well, actually, come to think, okay, I'm not totally defending Wendy, but it is a total pain if you have 2 little kids who are like 2 and 4 or 3 and 4, to drive. I mean, that is a real hassle, but.
That's fair, but I just feel like she just didn't do anything by like, she always had someone kind of serving her. And
yeah, that's what Jeff said, that, people would cater to her and treat her like a like some baby or some little princess that needed to be specially coddled. Yeah. Oh, and getting back to this gossipy teenage high school girl tone. So once again, when I was transcribing that one phone call, I was like, geez, like the way Donna talks to him, it's so like coddling, like, yeah, that's right, honey. And I was thinking she sounded just like Bree when Bree was just like agreeing with Charlie after his conviction and, saying, yeah, that's right. They didn't do this right. Or, oh, like he's
His
so
ex-girlfriend, right?
smart.
Bree's his ex-girlfriend, right?
Yeah, the child's mother. Yeah.
Didn't you just post something about her getting arrested or some sort of legal trouble that she was in?
Well, the assault charge from March 11th got voluntarily dismissed by the prosecutor because both of the parties, who I assume are Bree and her mother, refused to cooperate. So I guess they've already kissed and made up or something. So they agreed not to, stir the pot and move forward with having any sort of criminal trial. So, I mean, I'm thinking this must make it hard for Bree to find a job because back, I think around January, when she had the DWI charge, there was a form filled out that said she was unemployed. So any employer is going to run some sort of criminal record check on people. And even though she hasn't been convicted of that financial fraud, credit card fraud thing in Randolph County or the DWI yet, it still shows up. And now with e-filing in our state, it's so much easier to just type in someone's name and see all these cases that come up, plus lawsuits, because she got sued by a former landlord too. And I don't think she's paid anything on that judgment.
Charlie knows how to pick them.
Yeah. So once again, it's like, well, how much money do the Adelsons give then? Because you would think they are giving her money since she has Charlie's kid. So it's weird. Like she didn't even have insurance and she had expired registration, I think, when she got a citation for that this spring. Yeah.
I just want to call out Nia and your comment recently. I used to have someone in my life that actually admitted to be inept because they were just lazy and didn't want to do something, and I was shocked that because Nia just said I think that was another example of Wendy manipulating people. She didn't want to drive, so she pretended to be inept, knowing her parents would intervene and drive for her. And I had someone in my life that I was shocked that they pretended they didn't know how to do like a simple like chore just because they knew someone else would step up. And I was just like, wow. I was shocked. I was like, that's just manipulation 101.
Like yeah, she's a big manipulator based on what we've seen. Just our opinions, of course. Yeah. Okay, do you think that Adelsons got involved in this conspiracy, have regrets about killing Dan Markel? I don't think so. I don't see any regret whatsoever from Charlie. Charlie still has this total narrowly focused, weird fantasy where in his head he did nothing wrong. It's all the jury's fault. It's all Georgia Kappelman's fault. It just doesn't make sense, but they have their own warped little reality where they didn't do anything wrong. They just make up their own stories.
It's almost like they're, what's it called, disassociating on purpose to protect themselves because the fear of being in prison for the rest of their lives is maybe too much to handle. So they're just kind of locked into this, almost like they've convinced themselves, or maybe they probably talk to a specialist. If you convince yourself you're innocent and talk like you're innocent, then maybe someone will believe in you'll get like a hung jury or something like that if you talk a certain way. So if you're just coming in to this day one and you're listening to Charlie, sometimes he does kind of sound a little convincing. I'm not going to lie. But if you look at the full gravity of all the evidence and everything, he's guilty. He's very guilty. But it's just amazing how people like this are practiced liars. Sometimes I run into people in real life and I'm just shocked they did something wrong. like I had this one guy run into me at Costco. He was texting and slammed into me in my back and hurt me.
Oh.
And he was on his phone, and I was like, were you on your phone? And he's literally on his phone, and he's like, no.
Jeez.
And also,
Yeah.
his instinct is just to lie.
Mm-hmm.
But he like injured me pretty hard. I mean, I got over it, but like, I'm just like, and I was like, well, you need to, watch yourself. And he's like, I said, I'm sorry. I'm like, that's not enough. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like,
What a
I
jerk.
wanted to slap him even more. I'm like, is this how you drive? But I didn't want to be a total jerk. But like, he just thought sorry and keep walking, and I'm fine. I'm like, you just injured me, dude. So
Yeah.
there's just some people who I feel like their instinct is not me, not it. And they've probably been doing it since they were children.
Yes.
Like this family, I just wonder what the children would be like. I know Rob is the exception, but like the other children, were they just born rotten apples? Or were they kind of nurtured by Donna and Harvey to be like these little criminals and constantly lying and constantly shifting blame and saying, not it, not me, and just being convincing themselves that they're like,
Yeah, that's their mindset. It's like totally bizarre. Like, I can't understand it because, I was raised to be honest and not manipulate people and stuff. But, some people are just like that. Yeah. So, let's see. Was Wendy aligning her alibis? Well, Dan was actually shot around 11, I think. Was around 11:50 or 10:50.
That's why she was trying to keep the repair guy. She was trying to keep the repair guy. She was actually annoyed he came early.
Mm-hmm.
Because she needed to literally have the guy in her house during like the actual shooting.
Yeah. So this thing with Ryan didn't happen on Friday. From what I recall, it happened Thursday. The day before was when the female friend Ryan, met up with Wendy, and Wendy gave her the kids' hand-me-down clothes.
So Wendy was unloading some like children's clothing because she didn't want to pack it up to.
Yeah, because I'm sure because she was busy packing, that's why she didn't want Jeff to see her that whole week or go into her house. So that's my guess. Yeah, Wendy's new. Yeah, it's not really a new immunity thing, and we just read over it. Or actually, Bluebell graciously read over the whole thing, other than that old appendix that was attached as a exhibit from Katie's trial. So in a nutshell, it just means that Wendy refuses to testify as a witness for Donna because she wouldn't have any sort of immunity deal if the defense were to call her as a witness. So that's the issue. The other stuff is the same old stuff from before, where once again, she's willing to answer questions from the state as their witness because she gets immunity, use and derivative use immunity with that. So, okay, what do we think Rob Adelson will say? Do you want to take a stab at this?
Well, I'll plug the podcast again, Over My Dead Body. He was on a few years ago, which was great. I think it was him and his wife. There's a ton of people featured. Very well produced podcast. And I think they actually did like a video series of it for 2020, if I'm not mistaken. There's like anyways, I think, he'll tell the truth. I'm sure it'll be challenging for him. This is probably the first time that he'll see his mom face to face in many years. It's probably going to be very heartbreaking to see it all come to this. I'm sure if I was in his position, I'd be so overwhelmed because at the end of the day, that's still his mom, regardless of, I'm not saying that she gets absolved of anything because she's the mom, because she has no right. She's ruined that chance with, I think, him and the rest of her children and in life. But I think he'll tell the truth. I think he's a stand-up guy. And I think he's told the truth from his whole life. He just has integrity, and hopefully he'll get some good coaching and some, rehearsal or whatever they want to say it. But I think he'll do great, and I hope he does get called.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he would get called because he could be a totally great witness, and he sounds very articulate and well adjusted in that podcast interview. And did I ever mention? Well, I know I've mentioned it before, but a long time ago, maybe a couple of years ago, I posted something about what Charlie had said about Rob being off on one of the wiretap calls. And lo and behold, Rob Adelson responded to my post on the Facebook group. And he said something like, I have more to say about Charlie being off, but unfortunately I can't say more until much later or something to that effect. And I was like, oh, I didn't know Rob was part of this group. And actually June's older sister was also part of that group too, but she never posted. Yeah.
It's funny because I feel like brothers, they tend to rib on each other and they're very competitive with each other. So I feel like when, like, as they say, shots fired. So I'm sure Rob probably wanted to keep his statement to himself, but he probably couldn't resist just because it's, Charlie taking a shot at him. He's like, no, I'm going to defend myself. But I wish he would, like, maybe after Donna gets convicted, maybe I want Rob to live his life. I feel like he suffered a lot as a result of being just affiliated with his family or related to them, but I do want him to expose everything and say everything. Maybe he'll write a book one day. Who knows? I'll buy it. Rob, write a book. I'll definitely buy it. But
Yeah, you feel so sorry for him because he just got cut off by his family because he stood up to them and wanted to know more details, like what's going on, who do you think could have killed Dan, or let's talk about it. And they just all shut down, and Wendy just told him, well, he had no shortage of enemies, being all suspicious and stuff. Yeah, so seems like he has a good life up in New York. Yeah.
Like an innocent person would.
Yes, exactly. You would ask questions. It's like, let me call up the police. Let's see what's going on with the investigation and let's talk to the police. He did speak with the investigators a long time ago and he's been deposed and stuff. So he's not a hostile witness who's lawyering up like Wendy is or Wendy has. Yeah. Donna called Charlie sweetie, kept telling him how much she loved him. Do you think a lot of that was a bit of consciousness of guilt due to the murder? It could have been, but that just seems like the way she is, like this totally coddling, fawning attitude. And she has that too with Harvey. Fancy Fiction put up a video, some sort of home video that a source gave her where they're on a trip, maybe in the Middle East or something, where Harvey's riding a camel. And Donna's like, oh, Harvey, like she's treating him like he's a 3-year-old. It's so like saccharine and pathetic and weird.
I think Wendy learned from Donna how to love bomb. I think they're both love bombers. And they're both, like I said, cluster B, histrionic. They're both histrionic, which means they use very flowery language, over-the-top language. They are over the top. They exaggerate. So I'm just not surprised that she was just over the top with that comment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So why has Tamara Demko never been called as a witness? Well, I would say it's because her comments are just kind of too vague and easily refuted through cross-examination. She could very well have plenty of more information that wasn't stated at the police interview, but thanks to Deep Dive True Crime, he showed us her police interview, and the juicy tidbits were that that Harvey wouldn't look her in the eye when she showed up unannounced at Wendy's house the day after Dan was built. So we just thought it was very strange.
Weren't they? Because she used to spend holidays with them, right? Or I forget.
No, that's Sarah. That was Sarah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So I think they kind of were really mean to Sarah eventually, obviously, because she kind of turned on them. But yeah, sorry. I'm I'm interested. I'm kind of upset because I wish Tamara would testify, but if her testimony could be easily refuted on cross, then yeah.
Well, it's just, yeah, because just saying like he wouldn't look me in the eye, I had this weird feeling, that's not enough to really help the case along, to help the prosecution prove the case. And she said that according to Dan, the parents seemed to really love him. They loved him. But then suddenly when Wendy decided to ditch him, they did a 180-degree turnaround and started treating him like total dirt.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that's interesting information, but it's not going to help the state prove its case against the people, especially against, it wasn't relevant in Sigfredo or Katie or Charlie's trial. So, I mean, maybe she could be called as a potential witness against Wendy, but I still think Sarah Yusuf would be a stronger witness against Wendy than Tamara, because Tamara cut ties with Wendy soon after Wendy moved away. Tamara could tell from the start that, this family is acting weird. I think they have something to do with Dan's murder. And she had always been Dan's friend first because they met at Harvard during their 1L year. So she was like his swing dance partner and, who knows what.
Too bad there wasn't any romance there.
What?
Too bad there wasn't any romance there, or maybe.
Well, it sounds like there could have been some romance there, but I don't want to embarrass anybody here, so I won't say anything further. But some people might have caught on some stuff in a different interview. So, but she's really nice. I did meet her briefly at Charlie's trial, and she's been there supporting the Markels, and she's remained in contact with them. And, I think she had that spidey sense from the beginning, Oh, and another thing that Tamara said that makes me feel so sad for her. She said that Wendy never even contacted her after Dan had been shot. So she could have been there. She could have been at the hospital to be there when he passed away. But Wendy was so cruel that, first of all, she didn't seem to be in that much of a rush to try to figure out how to contact Dan Markel's parents. But she knew Tamara was his closest, oldest friend, who was right there in Tallahassee. And she didn't find out until the next day that Dan had died. I mean, that's so cruel. That is so horrible, like the way Wendy has treated people. Once you hear the details,
you would think like she would have, I don't know, it just shows, it's another indicator, of her consciousness of guilt, because it's just further, I would say, victimization of Dan in like his last moments, that he had to die alone without any friends or family.
Well, he did have some friends. I think Jeremy Cohen and his wife were there. And there was a rabbi who also showed up while he was in the hospital. So he wasn't alone, at least. But geez, to think that if Wendy had done a better job of trying to figure out how to contact Dan's parents, maybe his parents and sister could have flown down before he was dead. Maybe. I don't know what the flight schedules are like, but you watch her in that 5+ hour police interview, and she's like laughing and sniffling and butting around with the victim's advocate and her friend Jane, who shows up and cracking jokes and, yucking it up at times. It's just like, what? Like this is terrible. This is like a psychopath or a sociopath. Somebody tell me the difference, but I think it's very disturbing.
Like, I feel like that was the ultimate, like, big narcissistic supplier. Like, she was just feeding off of it. Like, it was like Duper's delight. And I think she oscillated from Duper's delight to, oh my gosh, they're going to catch me anymore. Like, I think she oscillated between the two during the interview, because sometimes I felt like she was like legitimately crying at times, but for herself, because she was like so afraid, I think. And you would see her, like, her mood would shift, and that's why I feel like she's a borderline because her mood would shift so quickly within like the span of minutes with the detective, Isom. And I forget, it was the body language guy or one of the people that a behavioral panel. They did like some sort of analysis, and based on the type of questions he would ask her, if she thought that, maybe it was her speech analysis, if she thought he was like, I don't know, suspicious of her, she would change the way that she answered the question. It was just very interesting to see it from that take, how she kind of sort of maneuvered and contorted herself during the interview based on the questions that were asked.
Yeah, she was trying to control the narrative. And sometimes when he asked her questions, she would just be like, oh my God, like starting to cry because she didn't want to answer the question or say something right away. Like when you watch it over and over again, it's like, oh my God, like this is such manipulation. This is so weird. And her comment that would be a game changer, when the victim's advocate mentioned, well, he's not dead yet or something, like he could survive. And
that was one of the most common things. So like, oh man, my plans are ruined. Like, and she'd be like, wait, he's going to like game changer? Are you kidding me? Like, that is so cold.
Yeah, instead, like any normal person would be like, yeah, you're right. Maybe there's a chance he could survive. Like, can we get an update from the hospital? Like, what's going on? Or can I go now? Can I go to the hospital? Or can I at least like contact this person who might know how to get in touch with Dan's parents and sister?
She answered question. Like, the thing is that like, she's maybe a practiced liar, but like, as the interview progressed and she got more comfortable, she answered a lot of questions like she already knew the information. So it wasn't lie and trying to seek and truly be curious. It's very performative, and I feel like that interview gives her away. But her and her parents, I guess, they did some things right. I guess if you can call like a success story for a murder, which I don't recommend, obviously, but they got out of town right away and refused interviews. So I feel like they should have pressed harder for interviews, but and subsequent interviews. But if you're not in town, it's more challenging to go to a different, jurisdiction and try to force her to come down to the station and talk.
Well, nobody has to speak to the police. So once again, a lot of times people will say that, oh, if the police ask to talk to you, you should get a lawyer, because they're not there to help you. But, in this situation, Donna and Harvey told Isom they would be back the next day on Monday to talk with him. But they didn't show up. And then Wendy hung up, or the call dropped when Isom called her. And that's when he knew they had already left town, and her attorney was the one who then called him back less than 5 minutes later to say everything's supposed to go through the attorney. So, but I do wonder how much of an effort the investigators made to try to contact Donna and Harvey again, or Wendy again later. Because remember, at one of the previous trials, I think it was the 2022 trial, Wendy was up on the stand and she was like, well, they would have talked to them if they had asked them. I was like, really? Is that true? Well, they did ask them, and then they didn't show up, but were there subsequent attempts to contact the Adelsons? I don't know.
All they were good at was making statements through their attorneys. We didn't have anything to do with this. Leave us alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
After 2016.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm way behind on the chat here.
Wait, son, husband. Is that from Ollie? Wait, hold on. Do you know Ollie?
What?
There was a son husband reference, and I know who the guy who created that. His name's Ollie Matthews. So I'm wondering if who was that in the chat that said it? Sorry.
I don't know. What does that have to do with it?
When a mother basically treats her son like a husband, and it's usually to fill some sort of void. It's usually if she has a husband already, but it's like they groom the sons to be like their husbands. And even if that son marries a woman, they're kind of like a simp to their mom, and they don't protect their wife. They're always at the mom's beck and call, and the mother basically groomed that son to be that way, and that's why this person is saying that that's what Wendy or Donna did to Charlie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure sounds like it. You have really good insight. Did you study psychology, or is that some passion of yours?
It's a passion of mine. Personality disorders, cluster Bs, only unfortunately because of personal experience and kind of my own sort of trials and tribulations. So it's I'm invested learning because I feel like knowledge is power. So there's YouTube is a great, we're in the information age, so there's a lot of resources. I've done a lot of reading, a lot of books. Another plug I'll make is Mr. J. Reed, his channel. He's a psychologist from California and San Francisco. He's a really awesome guy. He's also written a book. So yeah, I've just done a lot of deep dives. I'm not saying that you should put labels on everyone, but sometimes there's certain traits and stuff, and if they check certain things, then I feel like the Adelsons kind of check a lot of those boxes for me. But yeah, that's my interest in. I sort of like psychology / more like personality disorders. And lately, I've been learning about like sociopaths. I guess I should have learned about them sooner, but a lot of the things I thought was like cluster B, some of it is sociopathic. And I think like Wendy's lack of remorse and sort of being sort of like the Terminator, pretending that she's human and taking on different masks is very indicative of like a sociopath. She doesn't understand why people are hurt by her actions. It's very just indulgent, and she's just invested in herself and nobody else matters. So
yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. It's getting close to an hour and a half, and we haven't even reacted to Wendy's testimony. But any chance Ruth or Phil will testify about the grandchildren lack of visitation? No, because they're not on the witness list, which is what I've always wondered about. I was thinking, wouldn't it be great to have at least one of Dan's parents testify? Because they can totally rebut these lies that Wendy's been telling about, oh yeah, they've had free access to the kids. They get to see the kids whenever they want to. And, I didn't deny them access. She tried to put the kids into foster care. All these pack of lies that Wendy has told about Dan's parents. So I guess it wasn't relevant to the previous cases.
I think Georgia did a good job of, what is it called when you discredit or disqualify?
Cross-examine?
No, impugn.
Impeach.
Sorry, impeach. I think she was able to impeach Wendy's claims through just actually on direct. She was able to say like, well, you basically restricted access. So she kind of, like a prosecutor never asks questions if they don't know the answer.
Yes.
So she impeached Wendy, and I don't know that there's any value in having the Markels testify because Georgia did the job. She said that Wendy restricted access, and that's on the record. So
yeah, and that's what she needed out of her. Yeah. So once again, maybe Dan's parents would testify against Wendy when and if she ever goes on trial. I hope she does, but they're not expected to be witnesses at all at this trial coming up. Yeah. Okay, the Stuck the Bar invite email. Yeah, I've never seen the actual email, but Deep Dive True Crime did have a live stream show a long time ago, sometime around the time of Charlie's trial, where he had like a PDF of that document that Rashbaum showed Wendy. But once again, I don't think it was an email. It looked like a printed out invite that anybody could have made up. So, and then the party host's name has been mentioned by Fancy Fiction, but I can't remember the person's name. She was a mortician, and Wendy said she's the prettiest mortician you'll ever meet. And I think she was a person who handled Dan's body also. So
That's good. That's very
yeah, I don't think there was an interview with her because at that point, I don't think the police even cared about verifying, did she have to buy bullet bourbon or bullet rye whiskey for this stock to bar party? So there really was a stock to bar party. Jared Ross also talked about that on previous interviews, but whether that piece of paper that Rashbaum showed Wendy was true or not, I still have questions about that. It wasn't authenticated.
Yeah, and I learned that from one of your streams recently. Excuse me, Judy. I almost called you Wendy. I'm sorry.
That's funny.
You're the antithesis of her. So I didn't realize when Rashbaum was flapping around that piece of paper, and I don't know, to the layperson, because I didn't know too much context and background behind that, I believed it. I was like, wait, what? So Wendy is right in this case. She was asked to buy bullet bourbon, and there's no way it's that document hasn't been proven, to your point, nor do I think he put it into evidence, right?
That's right. It's not, it could be made up for all we know. Could have been something Wendy just typed up, because we're talking about a party from 2014.
And I think the prosecution, they have so much to cover, right, in the trial. So they really have to select, what is it called? Trial strategy, right? They really have to select what they will include or not. And I feel like maybe that's just, what is it called? Like conjecture, or like an assumption that, she bought bullet bourbon and she wore an owl t-shirt because it signified death. She did everything that kind of signified death the day that Dan got murdered.
Yeah, what a coincidence.
Those are like indicators and coincidences, but maybe they'll do it for Wendy's trial. But like, I think the prosecution, the state only has so much time allotted, and they probably don't want to focus too much time on something like that when there's like bigger fish to fry at the trial.
Yeah, it's not. Once again, it wasn't really anything important in the cases against those other defendants.
Yeah.
So that's why they didn't have to keep, poking at Wendy about these things. Yeah. So, all right. So do you think we should quickly react to something? There's like so many questions here. Let's see if the judge denies Wendy. No, I'm sure the judge is going to grant that because it is true she has the right not to have to incriminate herself. So the defense subpoena does not carry with it that limited immunity that the state subpoena does. Yeah, and even Judge Everett mentioned that too at the last trial when they were talking about having to be careful about the defense questioning Wendy. Yeah, so I'm sure the judge is going to grant that. Yeah, so that's happened before. So, okay, well, let's just, since we kind of advertise this as, well, first, let's show this funny video here. Do you want to watch a little bit of it?
I would love to.
Okay, so I'm sure it'll be okay for me to show this little clip because he's also used clips from my stuff. So okay, so this is from Loophole Lawyer, where this is Dan's coworker who called him a pompous ASS in her police interview. So it's called She the Killer or Just Nosy. So let's play the very end, which is totally hilarious when he makes these.
I don't think I watched the whole thing. That's probably my mistake. So.
Oh, okay. Okay, we'll just play it a little bit. Hopefully,
I guess initially defending her at the beginning.
When it dries.
Okay. No, I mean, he's just being sarcastic.
So. Elizabeth and anyone connected to her was not involved with the murder of Dan Markel. She was simply very nosy. And I do hope for her sake that her in-laws, her boss, her coworker that lost a lot of weight, and the dean don't ever see this video. Because if they do, they would know that one thing that we all in our community know. You don't fuck with Donna Adelson.
Good.
We need to talk about your boyfriend, Charlie Boy, and his possible involvement in this murder.
That was her Hispanic
I
boss.
saw the video.
That's her in-laws. AI.
So she was making fun of her coworker that had lost a lot of weight as well.
Yeah, because she was like totally going off on these like weird tangents, you know, like talking about how there's some woman at the law school that had recently lost a lot of weight. So maybe she was having an affair, you know.
So she's like Wendy. She's trying to blame shift.
She's like, I wasn't having an affair. I'm like happily married and we're not going to have kids. And then I think she said something about not wanting to go to her in-laws or not liking her in-laws.
That she said that, yeah, she wanted to avoid her in-laws. I'm like, oh, you want to put that on the record? Yeah, she sounds very immature.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you need to go or do you want to watch a tiny bit?
Yeah, we can do like maybe 30 more minutes if you want.
Okay. I'm so sorry because sometimes we get off track since we want to acknowledge people and answer questions and stuff. So thanks again to Deep Dive True Crime who has let me show his videos and stuff. So I will share a portion of the proceeds with him. So this, shoot. Well, I wonder.
I think we were watching, is this?
Yeah, well, now I get to see ads because I'm too cheap to pay for premium. Sorry. Okay, did we already see this? This is like totally a different video.
I can tell you the name of the one that you and I were watching, and I can tell you.
Oh, shoot. Okay, sorry. Oh, geez. Okay, because I think my keyboard. Well, let's just watch this and call it a day because I think this is kind of lasting too long, and I have so much work to do for tomorrow. Okay, let's watch for a few minutes, and you can give some commentary. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
In this case, you already know it. That he went behind your back, right?
Did not happen.
Just like he has done with past boyfriends. He's done that in the past where he's gone behind your back when you were having problems in a relationship and dealt with it himself.
No.
Ms. Adelson, you understand that until you expose your brother what he did, that everybody's going to consider you as guilty. You understand that, right?
What is the question that you're asking me?
You understand that until you expose your brother and explain what he did, that he went behind everybody's back, they hired a hitman to murder your ex-husband, you'll remain guilty in the eyes of the world.
I can't speak to the eyes of the world. I can only know that I have done nothing wrong.
Or maybe you are guilty.
I am not
You are
guilty.
guilty.
I am not
You are
guilty.
guilty.
I am not
You are
guilty.
guilty.
I am not guilty.
So a witness in this case, and I'm not going to get into their testimony, but one of the hitmen, the convicted hitman, implicates you. On July 17, 2014, the day before the murder, the morning before, he says that you were walking on Trescott with the two boys, that you walked down the driveway and into the house.
That never happened.
Right, because Professor Markel, I apologize, Professor Markel, he had the kids. Based on the way that your guy's schedule was, on that day, he would have had the children in the morning, and you're going through such a bad divorce, you wouldn't be at his house, right?
I wouldn't be at his house anyway, but not because we were going through a bad divorce. At that time, things were pretty copacetic.
All right, so we're coming back to maybe you do know, or maybe you were involved.
Excuse me? What's the question that you're asking me?
I'm giving you a header of what we're talking about so that we'll ease you in the question, okay? I'm just telling you what the topic that we're on, so we'll get to a question. Now, the government asked you about a time that you met Ms. Magbano. It was actually spring break of March 2014, right?
I believe so.
You went down to Miami. You stayed with your brother, Charles.
I went down to Fort Lauderdale after being in Immokalee I
Well,
stayed with my brother.
You then went to Miami Beach to Yardbird and had dinner outside with your boyfriend at the time, or who you were dating, Jeffrey Lacoste. Catherine McBanwell was there, and your brother Charles Adelson, and you all ate outside, right?
We did.
And that's on Miami Beach, not in Fort Lauderdale.
Correct.
Now, just for context, Jeffrey Lacoste, he was also an FSU professor, not at the law school, but an FSU professor. Nice guy, right?
I don't think so now.
No. You deny, I'm assuming, that on July 13, 2014, you told Jeffrey Lacoste that Charles looked into hiring a hitman. You deny that, or you admit that?
I deny that.
And that you told him that Charles looked into hiring a hitman back in September of 2013.
That never happened.
Which would have been months before your brother even met Catherine McBanwell.
I don't remember when they met.
Letting you know the topic we're on, we're talking about you being involved. That same week, earlier in the week, you sent an email. We're talking about the week of the murder now, not spring break, the week of the murder, not Yardbird, the week of the murder. You sent an email to Jeffrey Lacoste saying that you wanted to break up, that you needed space, right?
I did.
Sent him a long email, stay away, we're broken up, right?
I did.
You knew that on July 18, 2014, Jeffrey Lacoste was leaving town to go on a trip, right?
I knew he was leaving at some point that week. I don't remember when.
You knew that he was leaving on the same day of the murder at the same exact time as the murder.
I don't think I did.
11 a.m. on July 18, 2014.
I don't think I knew when he was leaving town.
It's a good way to put the blame onto somebody else. You'd agree on that, right? If it happened, it would have been a good way to put the blame on somebody else.
I have no idea when he was going to leave town.
Your interview, July 18, 2014, you said, you know, my brother, he joked about hiring a hitman. Perhaps that was you just planting a seed to divert the attention of law enforcement away from you.
It was not.
Let's jump off topic right now and talk about your boys' names. That in the time after the murder, you changed their last names from Markel to Adelson, right?
A year later, yes.
Why?
I was scared
Of what?
of someone coming to attack them.
So it's a year later, you won't look at anything because you don't want to know what's going on in the case. And the thought is, well, they're going to be protected if they have my last name and not Markel, right?
Yes.
Now, years later, arrests are made. It's clear who committed the murder, Sigfredo Garcia, Luis Rivera. The Adelson name has been dragged through the mud. Why haven't you continued to protect your boys and changed the name back?
I will be changing. I'm not going to change the name back. I don't think that will help. One day I'll change all of our names.
The government asked you about immunity, so let's get into that. You explained that as an attorney, you understand that when the government gives a subpoena for somebody to testify, that it conveys immunity, right?
That's my understanding. My knowledge of criminal law dates back to 2003 when I took a semester in law school. So forgive me.
Graduated law school, right?
This isn't my area of law.
When you clerked on the 11th Circuit, it was with Judge Jordan, right?
I did immigration appeals.
Yeah, but you still dealt with criminal stuff as well, too.
Very little.
So your understanding, though, is it doesn't mean they can't arrest you. They just can't use what you say here against you later on. So you're protected.
Correct.
And you needed that to testify, right?
It's just given to testify. It's not a question of whether I needed it. It comes with testifying.
You fear being charged by them. So you need to have that protection of
I
your
don't
words.
fear being charged for a crime I didn't commit. No.
Now, y'all had this nice exchange where it was pleasant, but there's actually tension between you and this office, right?
No.
They recently had your brother, Charles Adelson, arrested, and he's in custody, right?
Correct.
For first-degree murder.
Correct.
And there's no tension?
Hey everyone, today I'm breaking down the top 5 collagen powders of the year.
Okay, maybe that's enough showing it here. So any thoughts on that round of questioning?
Yeah, I mean, I just commend, his name is Chris, right? Lacoste.
Christopher DeCoste?
DeCoste. Yeah, he, I think he did a great job. Great attorney. I don't know much about him, but I love how combative he was with her. She deserves it. And I think he rattled her a little bit. So she, I think because she's technically a state's witness, Georgia can't really go too hard on her sometimes. So what I've noticed as I've watched multiple trials now is when the defense is kind of going hard on Wendy during cross, there's no objections. And she's actually pointed to the judge before and said, help me out here.
Yeah.
she's like, is he allowed to do that? So she's actually kind of summoned the judge to help her because the prosecution, rightfully so, did not object because they wanted her to be reamed by the defense. So it was really nice to see. So I like seeing Wendy rattled. But yeah, that was my take.
Yeah. And I do wonder if there's going to be that same type of friendly banter between Wendy and Donna's attorneys, like there was with Rashbaum. Because with Rashbaum, it did seem very rehearsed, like perhaps through her attorney, she had already been fed these types of questions and they knew it was going to be like this friendly banter to make her look good.
Yeah, I don't know. I go back and forth with Rashbaum. I mean, given now that I've seen, was it Judy and Donna's other attorney and kind of the shenanigans they're up to, I think Rashbaum looks much better in my eyes compared to them. But
you said Judy and Donna's attorneys. You mean Wendy and Donna's attorneys?
No, what is her name? Jackie?
Jackie Fulford?
Yeah, that's
Jackie
sorry.
Fulford.
I'm sorry, I'm saying your name when I'm trying to describe other people.
I'm like, I'm not involved in this lawsuit or the trial.
Newsflash, people, Judy has been a secret attorney for 10 months. Sorry, right. I'm being Vince right now. I apologize. Excuse me. So sorry, Vince. I had to take a shot at you. But yeah, no, I think, yeah, it seemed like they definitely, and I think they always ask those silly questions. Did you talk to anyone before the trial or whatever? Have you been coached? Have I asked you any questions before this? And, she's like, no, it's like, of course you did. And I don't know how they do it, but thank you, KCL. Yeah, Jackie Fulford and Josh Solomon. Oh, yeah. So names are not my strong suit sometimes, so I apologize. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, I feel like I've watched so many, I'm looking forward, I guess, to new content. And, the trial starts next week. So it's exciting to be, I think everyone in the chat can agree, like it's exciting to be part of this community, obviously for very sad reasons. But ultimately, we all want justice for Dan and his family and his children, which unfortunately, like his children, I feel like, they're underage, they're minors, but I'm sure they probably want justice for their dad too, and they probably have been silenced throughout this whole thing and probably, I don't know, coached and I don't know, like brainwashed or whatever you want to call it. I don't want to make assumptions on them too much, but I just, they're victims as well because they lost a father. They were raised without a father, and they were raised by the Adelsons, a criminal family. So yeah, I want justice for all of them. So I'm excited that the trial is starting next Tuesday, right?
Yes, with jury selection, which could take 3 days. So I'm going to assume it's going to take at least 3 days due to the fact that there has been publicity and there's probably going to be more media following this case. But I do feel like it's pretty likely that the case is going to just stay in Tallahassee. It doesn't seem like anyone thinks that it's really going to have to be changed to a different venue.
Okay.
So, yeah. And Mona asked a question about DeCoste, whether he's still Katie's attorney. I don't think so. He was the one who contacted the state when Katie wanted to make a proffer. But then he wasn't even there when she gave her proffer, and he wasn't there when she testified and stuff. So I think the money has run dry, so these attorneys are no longer involved with helping her anymore. The case is over from their standpoint. Yeah. So, okay, well, I got to get ready for court tomorrow. Guess what I'm going to court for?
Divorce?
No, tomorrow I'm going, well, it's sort of a divorce case, but I'm going on my motion for contempt. So I'm sure everybody here knows what contempt means, even though Wendy didn't know what contempt meant when she was in court. So anyway, I got to get my exhibits and stuff ready for that, and hopefully we'll get what we want. And
Yeah.
it's been a long, drawn-out saga in this one case I've been handling. So
You're victorious, you and your clients, so whoever they are.
yeah, I sure hope so. But I have the whole day blacked out because with court, you have to be there at 9 for a calendar call. And luckily, we can do it through WebEx now if you're not 1, 2, or 3 on the court calendar. But then you have to wait around, and then the judge will finally tell you, okay, you can come at 2 o'clock, or you show up at 11, or I don't have time to hear you, reschedule it, so it's just totally up in the air. You can't control your schedule when you have to go to court. It's frustrating at times. Yeah. So
Well,
anyway, well, I really appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you saw me at Whole Foods. That was just such a weird, random occurrence. So
yeah, no, I've been following your channel for a while, and I was like, is that, well, I forgot your name at the moment, but I'm like, hey, Legal Focus. And I was
That's
like,
funny.
weird. Yeah, so yeah, that was a great, great meeting, and it's been great getting to know you and doing these shows. So thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and hopefully I'll treat you out for lunch after my trial is over and I come back from Tallahassee and stuff in September.
Yeah, we'll have to. Are you going down for the trial?
Yeah, I already bought my flight, booked the hotel. I'm making plans behind the scenes to meet up with some YouTube friends and hope to meet some nice people there. And, and it's great that Dan Markel has brought so many wonderful people together despite this horrible murder. Dan has become the great connector still, even in his passing. So just hoping for justice for Dan, of course, and we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Well, safe travels, and I guess we'll catch up soon.
Okay, we'll be in touch soon. Thank you.
Bye,
Have a good
everyone.
night, everybody. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate you guys and all your support. So have a good evening.